Alright guys, we are back with our next match, and it will be Bara, which a few of the players we are good friends with, playing against Water, who I honestly do not know too much about Water. Again, I am joined with at Nizcast. Niz, are you here with us, buddy?
I am here, and it's Bada.
Uh,
It's from a song.
yeah, I figure, but yeah, most of these players we know, of course. Indie Bear. I don't know who Sal Foyu is, but I'm sure I've probably played around or with him. Crane and Goofy, of course, we all know, and then I do not know Big Rock. But over on the Radiant side, I really don't know them too well, but they seem to know Ursus, so they've played here quite a few times.
Yeah, I recognize a few names on the Radiant side. I recognize the name Moo, the D2 Sheriff, Water. I recognize a bunch of these names. I don't know these guys, but I do recognize their names. So,
definitely in store for a good match then.
yeah.
So, I don't know too much about what Goofy and Goofy and Indie Bear and Crane have been doing recently with their playing. Do you have any insight, or is just kind of just going to be you seeing what they're doing for the first time in a while too?
Well, they're just a bunch of friends right now. They've just been playing around pubbing and stuff like that. They're not a team yet.
So it's more for fun at this point right now.
Yeah, they're for anyone who doesn't know, I used to be on a team with Goofy, Crane, and Indie Bear. So we got a little bit of insight there, but we all kind of went our separate ways. And this is just a couple of them getting back together. Sulfu used to be used to play with like Frugos and those guys, a bunch of French guys.
Okay.
Their team, and Big Rock's just one of the friends of kind of the Goofy and Sulfu, that kind of crew. They're all pretty good friends.
Okay, well, I'm definitely looking forward to good matches. They should show us some awesome play. They have gotten this far as just a friend pub stack. I mean, this is, for them, the round of 16, so winning this is honestly pretty big. Top 8 in sex is just a group of friends is definitely a good achievement, considering also the number of teams that are in right now. Also, to update you guys on the brackets a little bit, I was watching the IRC, and No Earth Spirit did lose to, I'm not entirely sure who. They lost to Hot Handwarmers.
Wow.
Which is Cheech, and I don't know any of the other names, but Cheech is very familiar to me. So No Earth Spirit is already out. But that being said, we'll go ahead and get right into this draft, as it has progressed a little bit into it. We have Lycan and Tidehunter being banned out by the Radiant, and for the Dire side, of course, Brewmaster and Tinker. No complaints there. Honestly, nothing surprising there. And Death Prophet picked up by Goofy, and we will see Faceless Void, the answer by Water. And both heroes very strong. We've seen them many times today. Very popular in the common trend, and the circle that everyone in the competitive scene seems to follow. And honestly, with this, I wouldn't be surprised to see heroes like Rasta for the Dire side. But honestly, it would be a smart decision, I think, from Water to snipe up some of those push heroes that they might be looking to pick, whether that be the Enigma or the Rasta is up to him. But he should definitely look to maybe kind of get that out of the hands of the Dire, because you really never want to give Death Prophet and Rasta to a team, because the two in combination just push at an incredible rate. And they will pick up the Skywrath Mage instead, which is a good answer to Rasta and great combo with the Chronosphere, but does still still allow the Rasta pickup with the Death Prophet.
Yeah, you mentioned that we've seen Death Prophet picked up early in a lot of games. One thing to note here is that Death Prophet is a Goofy specialist hero. He is really good on this. This is probably one of his best heroes. So look for him to do a lot of work mid with this Death Prophet.
Yeah, he has a lot of games on it.
Yeah, he's really good, the Death Prophet. It was a hero that we used to pick all the time. It was kind of our go-to hero for him on the mid lane.
I know that. I banned the hell out of it. But with this, I mean, what does Goofy? I mean, he's the one drafting here, so it's kind of what he. Okay, so Shadow Shaman, not too surprising there, but but Goofy, kind of bring me into his mind here. He's got his Death Prophet, and obviously the Shadow Shaman fits very well with her. Is he just looking to go all out into the push kind of mid game, or is he looking to diversify the team a little bit? Like, how does he prefer to play it?
I think he definitely sees that there's potential with pushing, and he's picked up the Rasta, which I'm guessing is going to be played by Indy. He plays a pretty good Rasta, but Goofy's of the same opinion as me, is that Death Prophet is not strictly a pushing hero. This is a carry hero. This is a hero that you get off to a good start. Mid game is where you really start to explode, and you can carry. You can get far enough ahead in that mid game that you are that end game carry that your team needs. And look for them to play it that way. I don't think they're going to go all out push with this.
Okay.
Even
Fair
though,
enough.
look at the Radiant. The Radiant is respecting the fact that there is push potential there and banning out the Pugna,
Yeah, and I mean
which
you
is
have
obviously
to.
strong against Sky as well. But
Yeah, and honestly, I like the Silencer ban coming out from Goofy. Silencer can complicate any counter initiation. Like, maybe you guys are spread out well, and the Void misses his Chronosphere, but you can't reinitiate because they global silenced you and backed out, or, maybe globaled you and then initiated. So I like that ban, and the Doom as well. Very good against Death Prophet, because if she gets, or she doesn't get the ult out and you get the Doom on her, it's kind of a one fight. And if Doom is able to, or if Doom doesn't get it off, then it's kind of like, you doomed to Death Prophet. She's not going to spam Crypt Swarm. Not a big deal, but not a bad ban. I mean, it's a strong hero, and especially with Faceless Void, can offer a lot of control.
yeah, I like the Veno ban as well. Once again, just banning out more push, right? But I think the only other ban that the Dire would have really been looking for is hopefully to ban Razor, but they just didn't have enough bans for that. But the Radiant side could definitely pick up a Razor here to kind of complement their faceless or something like that. Or sorry, I misspoke there. I meant they could have the Radiant side could have banned the Razor instead of the Venom. But look what happens. Dire picks up Razor here.
Yep,
So
and
it counters the faceless.
it does, but honestly speaking, now with that Witch Doctor, it adds an extra level of damage that's going to be very important. The Death Ward, regardless of what happens to the Faceless Void in that Chronosphere, if he gets it off and Witch Doctor doesn't get cancelled and gets to channel the majority of that, it can deal incredible amounts of damage. And God forbid he gets an Aghanims, because we all know once Witch Doctor gets an Aghanims, it's almost impossible to win a fight. Like, it just does so much damage that if you don't cancel that Death Ward immediately, your team will wipe.
Yeah.
I mean, this final pickup I think is going to be something a little more tanky. I would really like to see them pick up something. Okay, so they're not going to go that route. They're going to go for the Prophet, and honestly, what they have right now is decent elements of team fight between the Chronosphere, the Skywrath Mage, or the follow up with the Mystic Flare as well as the Death Ward. But now the Nature's Prophet adds that element of global pressure as well as split push potential, so that even if they get on top of a tower with the Death Prophet and the Rasta, there's always that threat that Nature's Prophet can make an even trade with towers, and then you jump on them with a Chronosphere and well-timed Mystic Flare, and you could turn that into your advantage quickly.
Yeah, what the Radiant team sees here is that the Dire team has a lot of mid-game power. And what they've done is they've said, you know what, if you're going to push us, you're going to have to engage into us. You're going to have to engage into Chrono. And that's going to cause the Dire team to really hesitate on when they're going to initiate and be very cautious. During that time, Furion's going to be off across the map split pushing. So that's why they picked up the Furion there. And we saw the Dire team also pick up Sand King here. Once again, another strong support. I said Indy was going to play the roster, but I actually think Indy's going to be on the Sand King instead this game.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Well, and Sand King's one of those heroes that, again, kind of a double-edged sword. Sand King, when behind in farm, never gets his Blink Dagger, doesn't really do much. But if you can secure him that farm, and with the roam potential of a Boots first Sand King or a Boots first Shadow Shaman, they can get easy kills, and obviously with the Shackles into the Burrow Strike, but then obviously the stacks. So while Sand King is very farm dependent to do what he does, he has a lot with this team and his own skill set to get the necessary farm. The question now becomes for Goofy and the Dire team, in my opinion, is when they decide to push, how well do they engage in these team fights? Because if Radiant gets the engages that they want, they will win, and that's just the nature of push versus team fight. But if the push team can bait bad engagements, then the virtue of wards, Death Prophet Ultimate, the Eye of the Storm, and all of this incidental damage that's going to continue regardless of if you disable their heroes, followed up by the Sand King being able to counter-initiate now, gives them the tools to actually take it and fight. So again, I think it's going to be even as far as the draft right now, in my opinion. It's just going to come down to execution of how both teams decide to play their heroes, really.
Yeah, I think this game, you can actually compare it a little bit to StarCraft 2 in the sense of how you have a timing push, a time where you're going to be really, really strong and you push at that time and you attack your opponent. And I think that's effectively what the Dire side's going to do here. They've got their timing. They've got their items that they need to get. They need to get the blink up on Sand King. They need to get Death Prophet rolling. They need to get a few items on Shadow Shaman and Razor. They need to get those items to get off the ground. But the Radiant team doesn't have anything to really punish them, to stop them from doing that. So I think the Dire Tide's going to have a relatively easy time, as long as they don't screw up too badly. They're going to have a relatively easy time getting to that mid game and dominating. So,
yep. And there's that Sniper, and Sniper's just going to put a little bit more of a, to add on to what you're saying, the timing that's going on. And honestly, I love the Clockwork pickup against the Sniper.
Look at this team. It's so strong mid-game.
Yeah, it's meant to win this game in the first 35 minutes. But that being said, again, you know, as the unbiased commentator, we have to say that the Radiant side, if they survive this timing, the Sniper has put a death timer on the Radiant or the Dire team, because there is going to become a point where if the Radiant team gets enough items and enough levels, and Sniper's able to just stay in the back, he's just going to gun them all down. But if the Dire side does exactly what we're talking about, gets that push timing off the ground, gets those first few items and all the tower and the map control, and just constricts the Radiant team, they don't have a team to deal with that. They really don't. They have a team that's designed to gank, split push, and win team fights. But at the same time, the way that they get to the winning that team fight and doing those objectives is honestly, in my opinion, kind of dealt with really well by the Dire team. And I'll go ahead and introduce the Radiant team and leave you to introduce your old teammates and buddies. We do have Michael on the Sniper playing for Team Water. We have Sigma on the Faceless Void. We have Moo on the Nature's Prophet. The D2 Sheriff playing the support Skywrath Mage, and of course Water, the Captain and Drafter, playing the support Witch Doctor.
All right, on this Dire time, or
Dire Tide.
Saying Dire time or Dire Tide. On this Dire team, playing on Team Baro, we have Goofy playing his infamous Death Prophet. We've got Crane on the Clockwork, starting with Boots first. We've got Sulfu on the Razor. We got Indie Bear on the Rasta. And we got Big Rock on the Sand King, who I believe also started with Boots first. Yes, he did.
Seconds to battle.
And this is honestly very interesting, seeing Crane. I played with Crane ever since. Well, I played with Crane many times throughout my history, but he's always been a mid player for me. And it's interesting to see him go from once mid player to playing carry for you guys, and now he's even playing off lane. So it's definitely good to see Crane branching out, and I'm excited to see how he plays his Clockwork, because honest to God, I've never seen Crane play off lane or Clockwork, so it'll be definitely a surprise for me.
Yeah, this is relatively new for me too, but Crane's a very good player, so
yeah, he's always got he's got a good head on his shoulders. So we'll see what happens here. Michael, unfortunately, not getting the best block here on the Sniper. We'll see how Goofy is done, and with Goofy getting the better block, I think this lane is definitely going to start off in Goofy's favor. The question becomes, can Sniper get the last hits? And I don't mean does Goofy let him. I mean, does Sniper actually, you know, secure every single one? Every one he misses is going to start to add up quickly, because as the Crypt Swarm levels go up, it's going to be harder for him to stay in lane, and then it's going to get pushed under his tower, and it's going to be very important.
The other thing is that Goofy loves playing Sniper as well. So he knows this hero inside and out, as well as the Death Prophet that he's playing. So he's going to have a good understanding of this matchup that he's going to be. He's going to have.
They have a DC on the Witch Doctor. Going to see if they want to pause here, because this is kind of confusing.
Someone is playing it. Someone is control.
Well, we'll go ahead and leave that be until they pause. I did say it out loud, so they're aware that they can pause. Moo, out of mana to summon more Treants, and Indie Bear just zoning him out. But good job on these Treants, stopping this pull. Actually, very good job. He might... I know he's not going to stack it. It's not even near the time to stack. RaptorZ was watching the clock, I promise, guys. But, again, honestly, I think so far in this tri-lane, in the beginning of this game, both tri-lanes are equally zoning out the off lane, and honestly, Goofy in the mid lane is even in experience, but definitely dominating last hits. And you can see now with this level 2 Crypt Swarm, it's just going to get easier and easier. And he also has that Null Talisman to give him that extra 6 damage to help him control both the denies and the last hits.
Yeah, this is what Goofy does. You know, you throw him mid on a hero he's comfortable with, and he's just gonna, you know, do really well against even the best mid players in the North American scene. So it's no surprise to me that he's a little bit ahead right now.
Yeah. Definitely, and now he does have secures that bottle with an Invis rune. Indie Bear rotating 10 seconds after that rune spawned. A little late, but doesn't matter. No one else was there, so they do have control of this. Invis rune does go up onto the Death Prophet now after 3 bottle charges. Will be at half mana and able to continue winning this lane. However, Crane doing a good job stopping this pull. The bottom lane will pull 2-3 creeps over here into the right lane, and over on the left hand side, Moo. Normally I'd say Dire side has worse of an offlane, but it doesn't. I don't think Moo is doing as much as he could right now. He could be pulling this camp over here with the Treant spawn. In fact, he might do that right now. Great play. That's exactly what he needs to be doing, and just exploiting the power of his side. But Indie Bear and Big Rock, of course, not going to make that easy for him, which they shouldn't. But definitely needs to keep working at that and try to get his advantage. But he is going to get a double creep wave now that I see this. They weren't able to get the pull through. And so this double creep wave will make a bigger difference. And honestly, we still have the Witch Doctor DC'd, but that might not matter as Crane is down to barely any HP, and he will die to creeps, and that will be the kill. However, in mid lane, Goofy does dive for the sniper and does get the kill. It won't be first blood, but at least he does get the consolation kill.
Yeah, Goofy just kind of showing his dominance mid. He actually lived by one hit from the tower, but able to bottle up, and Prophet was going to TP in, but decided against it. And ended up just staying top. But we did lose Crane in the bottom lane, so it ended up being 1-1, as thankfully the Witch Doctor's back in this game. And
they were able to get the kill with the DC'd Witch Doctor, so a little bit of extra props to them, because that was 2 players with 3 heroes against 1 player with 1 hero.
Yeah, and it looked like, from what I could tell, the Skywrath was playing the Witch Doctor, so props to him for being able to play 2 heroes there.
We do see level 4 popped here by Nature's Prophet, but again, Crane, this is surprising me. Crane already almost level 5. Normally it's the Dire side offlane that's struggling for experience, but it's the Radiant side right now, and when you're a Prophet and you're struggling for experience and gold, it's not really the best of a game. And 7-2 mid lane is starting to become more, or actually relatively evened up. Before I speak,
Sniper's
done a great job.
Good job closing that gap. Unfortunately, he did die solo to the Death Prophet, but in terms of CS, he's back in us. Because we see both supports hanging out at the top right, controlling it. Unfortunately, it was an illusion.
Well, they will smoke up off of this, and honestly, it's a great decision considering that Michael might be feeling a little bit confident here, as he does know Goofy just went off to get that rune, so he's not going to be really thinking, hey, where are the supports, But this is probably where you want to call it out. We'll see if Indie Bear and Big Rock can get the gank off of this, as they will move in here in just a second. We do have boots on both, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm wrong. Big Rock will be the one initiating. He does only have level 1 Burrow Strike. The initiation range is not as far as they would like it to be, and with that smoke getting blown, they might give up on this, and no, never mind. Indie Bear's going to wrap around. Great plays by them using the double tier initiation. Big Rock will be able to get in range because of that Shackles, and that will be another kill on Michael. The Skywrath Mage does TP, but honestly, nothing he's going to get out of that, as there was just too much there from the Radiant or Dire side to turn around.
Yeah, that was just a great rotation. I think Sniper knew something was up, but he was playing kind of cautiously, but that Shackle just had enough range, and yeah, they were able to get the kill. And, that should be the boots for Indie Bear on the roster, so that's good for him, off to a good start.
Big Rock's even going to get himself a double stack right after that, which is awesome. He's going to be really close to that Arcane Boots, and Indie Bear, too, is going to get another stack up for him. Look, now they're going to have a quad stack for Sand King as well, as Crane does get closer and closer to cracking that level 6, and that's a big timing for them. He's actually only 133 experience away. And I just don't know what to say. I feel like I'm a broken record right now, but I am not used to seeing Radiant side offlane get less than the Dire side. So great plays so far by Crane, and honestly great plays by the tri-lane. And Moo, maybe he could be doing more. Maybe he could be going into the jungle and having a TP on him so he could TP back into lane when they do push the wave, because honestly that's the power of Prophet, right? He has that global teleport. Why isn't he farming jungle? So maybe I'm being
clockwork now.
And he's going to go for a support kill.
Rotate through the jungle. One thing to note is that he is leveling up Flare over Battery Assault. I typically don't like this build, but this build did allow him to get more in that offlane than you typically would get. So so I guess it's working out for him in this game.
And it does make it a little easier for Crane to steal kills, and sometimes stealing that kill or two and that extra 400 gold is enough to get him that Arcane Boots, and then all of a sudden he's able to cook for days, and it just keeps adding up. So Definitely
these-
advantages to it. Will
Look
they?
at these two heroes mid that
Yeah.
they realize, Clockwork hit 6, he left bottom, they've got a ward bottom,
Crane
so they know
playing
he's
very
not
well.
there.
He is still in fog, has not revealed himself. They know he's missing, but they don't know where he is, and that's the power of having an invis hero. Goofy might try to dive here, but Michael gets hooked on into the mid lane. Sniper takes a ton of damage with that DD rune and is going to go down. They have a TP, but they're going to cancel it. Goofy might actually go down to the Skywrath mage here. No, he is fine because that phase boots and, of course, that passive. But meanwhile, in top lane, Moo is going to get dived into the tower with the shackles, and obviously that Burrow Strike going to be enough to clear it up. Eye of the Storm also helping out as that tower does fall. And now Bada is going to continue on in this game, up 1 tower and 3 kills.
Well, that was just really good play mid by Goofy and Crane working together. We saw Crane was hanging around waiting, because they didn't know where the sniper was. Sniper poked, Goofy pushed up, forced him, and then Crane was right there. Sniper walked basically right back into him, easy hook. And now we've got, because of everything that's happened, up top, Sand King actually finished his blink. So Soulfu is going to be able to Big Rock is going to be able to try to make some stuff happen. But I'm wondering where the Radiant side's going to go from here. They've gotten quite a bit of farm on this Void, so look for him to start making some plays with the Chrono. But he is just sitting on a Midas at the moment, so maybe that's not quite going to happen yet.
Completely understandable. I agree with all that, and I mean the only caveat I would add to that is, he does have that Midas, and it's great that he has it up, but, at this point in the game, it's a little bit late, and the question becomes, does he get enough out of the Midas before Bada gets into that pushing, mode that we've both been talking about, because Midas is one of those double-edged items. If you pick it up and you get its worth out of it, I would 10 out of 10 pick it up again. That's my opinion. But if you get behind and that team starts to constrict you, Midas doesn't always help, and we are going to see the Smoke Ink is 2 supports moving through the jungle straight into where Prophet as well as the Sniper is, and honestly they have the potential. They have the potential to kill him by himself, and with that Blink Burrow that will set up the gank, followed up by the Hex and the Shackles, they will get that kill. The Prophet does bounce through, but it's not going to be enough to get any return kills, and that will be the ownage going off in favor of Song Lyrics, aka Bada.
This is that momentum that they wanted. They wanted Goofy to be in a lane that he was going to have some strength in, get a good lead, and now they've gotten a couple rotations, and he's just looking real good. Even though he's not quite caught up with the or keeping up with the Void, but he's doing work. He's getting to where he wants to be on that hero.
Completely agree with these points, Niz. One thing I would like to point out too that kind of want to prompt you on. Prophet did not pick up his Midas. Now, sometimes people say, I personally say, if you're a Prophet, you pick up the Midas no matter how the game is going. I just love the way it works on the heroes, but what do you think as Goofy might actually get picked off here? Great Chronosphere. On the edge, he gets Goofy and does steal that regen rune from Goofy, and Big Rock does miss the Burrow Strike as well, but it looks like it's going to be enough for them to get the kill on Faceless Void, as they do have the ulti being thrown out by Goofy, and Goofy turning, still stays alive with barely any HP, does finally get picked off by the Witch Doctor over down here, but the Sniper will get picked out from that. And honestly, a lot of great plays coming out of Goofy to extend that fight longer than they were expecting. And now the Sand King is pursuing. He does have that Sandstorm to stop them from getting any damage off on him. Eye of the Storm popped by the Razors. He's going to continue to chase the Witch Doctor. Will they be able to get this kill? Blink from the Sand King. Not going to have any spells to follow up though, as well as the Arcane Bolt and the Concussive Shot coming out of Skywrath Mage. And great ulti from the Prophet, going to be able to snag this kill.
Vision from the lingering
Concussive Shot or
Arcane Bolt.
Arcane Bolt, right.
Skywrath, yeah.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on this Prophet not going Midas in this situation?
I'm with you. I like that Prophet kind of always gets Midas. But I mean, what would he have right now? He'd have boots and a Midas. Is that even enough gold? Yeah, he would just be there. That's terrible math. He'd had some excess gold on top of his Midas, but
barely any. But yeah,
it's interesting to see. Obviously, he wants to get something else.
Something that's happening.
See.
And well, in the bottom lane, they are actually going to get the Skywrath Mage. Big Rock with that Epicenter, obviously into the Burrow Strike with the Sandstorm. Did miss that, but we can see by the cooldowns that's what he did. He will blink forward. Attempt the body block on Moo, not quite good enough to keep him in range of the Razor, but they will continue to pursue this. They do have the ability to dive this tower. They may not choose to, and they don't. So they will
No,
back
they
off
didn't.
for now.
There was no stun on the Sand King for a stun, or no mana on Sand King for a stun.
Right.
So they weren't going to be able to die
Radiant's
there.
bottom tower
One
is
advantage
being
to that
attacked.
blink first, but meanwhile, in the top rune, we are going to see Faceless Void jump onto Goofy as well as the Prophet teleport.
There we
And with
go.
all the 4 heroes there, they are going to be able to pick off Goofy, and
Radiant's
great
bottom
rotations from
tower
them.
is
However,
under siege.
those rotations will mean that this tower is suspect, and now Moo might be able to get this. He needs to use the Sprout, but a little late, honestly. Doesn't get that courier, does get out alive.
Tower is being attacked.
But this is what Radiant needed. They
Radiant's
need to get a
bottom tower
kill,
is under siege.
and they lucked out getting one on
structures have
Death
been
Prophet there,
fortified.
and now they're going to
Dire's
get a
middle
tower out of it.
tower
They're going to
is
lose a
under
tower of
attack.
their own, but
That's Radiant's
this is what they
bottom
need to do.
tower
They
is
got a
being
trait
attacked.
in terms of towers. I think they're actually getting the better trait here. They're getting the better
Dire's
tower,
middle tower is
and they got a
under
kill
siege.
on the mid here.
Radiant's bottom tower is
This is,
Radiant's bottom
this
tower
is
has been destroyed.
The Radiant team starting to make the right moves. They were getting kind of pushed around for the first 13 minutes of
Dire's
this
top
game.
tower is
Crane
under
might have a
siege.
solo pickoff here, though.
Well, there's two
It
coming.
might happen, although they
Yeah,
have vision
vision.
on him instead, so this might be a turnaround. They do get the Sprout onto him, so he's going to be stuck there. He doesn't have the levels for the Mystic Flare, unfortunately, and they won't continue to chase this as they do get vision that Indie Bear and Big Rock are rotating, and Goofy is going to come in from behind. Does get the Skywrath Mage with the ultimate as well as the Silence, using that Crypt Storm to finish off the kill, and with that ultimate and T1's not having in backdoor, Goofy will just be able to Crypt Storm this wave and finish off this tower, and that will be 2 towers and a kill for 1 kill. And you know, while the Radiant was making the right moves, Dire making 2 steps more than they did right there.
Like you said, this may just be a group of friends, but these guys play a lot of Dota together, and they're playing around each other really well.
They have
Just
3 of them
kinda-
have played together for what? Like, it was, you guys played together for 5+ months, 6 months, so they're looking on 9 months.
But a lot of these guys have been playing together for a long time.
Definitely adds
Now
up,
they're-
and they're
now
going to
they're
get that
gonna
rush
get a
on. Yeah. And honestly, the Radiant can't do anything about this. They do have this ward here, but if I go to the Radiant Vision, you guys can see that vision ends right here, so they won't be able to see this Roshan attempt, and it will be free. And they do use wards as well. I think it's fine. Wards is a relatively short cooldown. It's about a minute and a half if you round down, so it will be up in time for the next fight. Radiant will rotate top to try to take this tower. Chronosphere is up on Faceless Void, and he does
They're
have
going to defend.
the Midas and the Treads, but there comes the epicenter from Big Rock. He does get it off. The Silence doesn't come in time, and Faceless Void will jump in and Chronosphere over it, as well does get Goofy, but Goofy with that Yule Scepter could easily just turn around, and will they get the Silence on Moo? He does get the Yules. Not quite the Silence, but the follow-up Silence will be there if he tries to teleport, and that's not going to happen. That will be a death on Moo, and he was going for a Maelstrom, but now will be 300 away from that Mithril Hammer. Not going to be able to get to it anytime close anymore.
Wow. So even though Sand King ported in and thought he could stun Epi, which he could have, but the slow came out from the concussive shot came out from the Skywrath to slow him. Ended up just basically feeding. They still ended up with a trade. They still ended up killing the Furion, and even though only 4 of them ended up showing up top, they were able to defend that tower against 5. While Indie Bear was actually TPing in, but he canceled so that he could do some counter warding around the bottom rune area.
Void is in position up here in the top lane, but he does not have Chronosphere up. They will go ahead and throw the concussive shot out. Lee comes up from Void. I don't know if this is the right decision, as he does still have his Massacre Madness active. Is going to take a ton of damage. He's running back in, dealing a decent amount of damage to Goofy. They do throw out the Assassinate as well as the Mystic Player, but it's not going to be enough to finish him off, as Goofy does get out alive, and that means that this ultimate is going to be able to heal him up. And
Big Rock and Crane are both lying in wait. They're waiting. Just waiting for the Radiant to overextend a little bit to try
well,
to chase.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to push after this because of the nature of Death Prophet ulti. I love how it heals afterwards. And, you know, great splitting here on the trees by Prophet, trying to do a little bit of micro here. But at the end of the day, you're in a tough position when your tower's already down to 288 HP. Big Rock will blink in with that Burrow Strike, gets the initial stun on Amu. They do throw out the Sprout. There's nothing to eat through it right now, as they do get the hook, though. Crane onto the Prophet in the background will be able to clean up that kill. The question is D2 Sheriff get any kills, or does he get picked off himself? But great leap in from Void is able to get this off, but he does have that Aegis. Still Crane getting low, does go down. That's 2 down, one of them being the Aegis. Michael going to throw out that Assassinate, decides to cancel it, as the Chronosphere does go down onto the Razor. The Assassinate does get Big Rock as he blinked in for that Burrow Strike, and that'll be a 3-for-1 as Faceless Void drops really low, and Goofy getting away with 326 HP. Indie Bear getting a free D ward in the meantime, not really participating. he was on vacation during that fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, apparently. He wasn't. I think maybe they went a little too far. It was looking good, but Indy wasn't there, so they didn't have the Rasta, and they didn't have the Exorcism on Death Prophet. So maybe they went a little deep there. It was looking good with the hook shot and stunning, but in turn they ended up losing more than they got. But they did get the tower, so they're making progress towards pushing that base. Because as you said, if this goes really, really late, the Radiant's
got the better
looking
lineup,
pretty
honestly.
good, but Sniper has to get there, and he's very far from there right now.
Yeah,
And,
he is very far, but I would like to add the caveat to what you're saying, the condition or the point that Void, as well as Prophet, have done a decent job catching up, because Prophet is sending out a full Maelstrom, if I am not mistaken. No, will just be the Mithril Hammer, but speaking of that, Moo does get stunned by the Blink Burrow Strike coming out of Big Rock. Goofy pops the Exorcism as they continue to chase down this middle lane. Will Moo get caught out is the question. They still have the Yule Scepter active, so he hasn't used it yet, which means he still can use it here, and they will push out this lane. Death Prophet ulti about half duration. They could do some damage to the tower here, but with this Siege Creep stalling up this wave, I think it's going to be enough for them to not get anything out of this Death Prophet ulti. So Goofy and the Dire team making a little bit of a hasty decision to blow that Exorcism.
that was a little premature, but
They will
I think he's
continue to
done a good
push
job.
regardless. They do have wards too to point out, which is worth to point out. And Big Rock will get hit by that assassinate instead. Great Blink does disjoint that, so it doesn't actually hit him. And they're just going to go ahead and switch to a gank in bottom, but Void is aware of this, knows they're rotating. They do have this ward, which allowed them to see coming over this way, but Void doesn't know exactly where they are right now or what they're exactly doing, so he needs to hide out in the trees just for a little while.
Ward. Oh, you're referring to
Yeah, I'm referring to the Spire ward over there.
Sorry.
But he is doing a good job tunneling into these trees, so he does know where they all are now, and he is in a good position to get up behind them and get a great Chronosphere if they continue to push up, and it looks like that is the plan coming out of the Dire team. It's not the wrong decision, but knowing what we know, they're kind of walking into a trap right now, and if Faceless Void can exploit this trap well enough... Oh, no, never mind. Faceless Void is just going to turn this into I guess, what do you call it, creep cut, and try to stop the push from actually coming out. But honestly, with that one creep wave and wards, it should be enough. I might have spoken too soon, though. With that Fortify, this creep wave will get cleared up, and then the back door will re-engage, and it won't be enough anymore.
The ping from the Witch Doctor came out to tell Void to actually go and cut those creeps. So, good call from them to do that. Obviously, they felt like that was the better choice rather than trying to create a little trap, and they're just buying some time for themselves. However, it was just roster wards, so in 80 seconds those will be back online. They didn't blow Exorcism, so if a team fight does happen, the Dire side's still going to be pretty strong. But here comes Void.
And he does get the Chronosphere right on to Salfo, and the Salfu, and the Sand King does blink in, and nothing really going to happen to that. And unfortunately for Radiant, blowing that cooldown right now is not good, because now, like you said, they do have the Exorcism up on cooldown, and sure, it's great that they wasted the wards, but Faceless Void isn't going to be able to creep cut again, and this creep wave is just going to keep moving on up, and this is going to be an opportunity to take another T2, which will leave one outer T2 remaining, and that means when Roshan comes up, we'll know in the next 2 minutes what his actual next spawn will be. Dire side's going to have a great advantage as far as this side of the map goes, because Radiant's going to be constricted to about that line after these two T2s go down.
Yeah, and this bottom line is definitely going to fall here. I don't see them really being able to defend it. So,
with the Chronosphere,
question
maybe,
is-
but not anymore.
yeah, they don't have the chrono, right? So, the thing is...
Blink
they're-
Burrow Strike coming out onto the Witch Doctor. Big Rock will get silenced, as well as Mystic Flare, and the Assassinate brings him down to 93 HP, as well as the Witch Doctor using the shift click to control that Death Ward to immediately kill him. Great plays coming out of them, but the Faceless Void jumps in a little aggressively. The Goofy will go down, but Goofy does net that kill on the Faceless Void first. Salfu is a little bit caught out here as oh my god, the Arcane Bolt is chasing him. With the Assassinate, it will be enough to secure the kill, and that is 3 kills for 2. Nature's Prophet does get picked up by, looks like, Clockwork in the top lane while that was all going on.
That was a really silly play by Big Rock to jump in there. They were easily going to get that tower without having to use Rasta Wards or an Exorcism. But he jumped in there. He forced a fight, and it was the wrong time to jump in, and the Radiant capitalized on it. It's important to note that it was a mistake, but the Radiant was in position to actually capitalize on it. And they did well, and they came out with a couple kills. They lost their Void, who got completely demolished once DP popped herself up in the air with the Yules. But it's your Void for Death Prophet and Razor, which are the two high value targets. So I think it was an okay trade. And your tower's still up.
Definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. And when you're in this kind of situation, we've said it before, trades are what you need. And if a trade goes advantageously for you in a major way like that, more plus points, more kudos, more better the play was for you. So we will see the game kind of stabilize out here as Big Rock is hunting in the trees here. Does have a ward over Faceless Void, is aware of his positioning, knows he's coming around to follow this, and doing a great job dodging around. Maybe they might try to turn this into a kill here as Rasta is in the nearby area. Blink into Burrow Strike will get the first stun. They follow it up with the Hex. He does sneak on through those trees, and they choose not to follow this up as they did see the Witch Doctor nearby. And if the Chronosphere does go off with a Witch Doctor ultimate, it would be a team wipe.
Yeah, they were definitely setting something up there, and I think maybe Big Rock jumped in a little early there, and I think Crane actually would have been a little late to the party because he was a little slow leaving bottom, but maybe that kill just wasn't going to happen. Void was just too aware anyways, and he was starting to back. Big Rock obviously read something with that Void to initiate there, but it didn't happen, and they get this kill. They get this tower for free, so. It's not the worst rotation in the world. And
meanwhile, in top, Moo is going to get picked off as well. He does sprout himself, but that pushes himself outside of the cogs. Does take the damage and is down right there.
And that's a BKB for Razor now.
Yep, and that's going to allow pushing onto the high ground much easier. Epicenter does go off from Sand King, but a great concussive shot under vision, and they do get the Chronosphere, and that will catch up both Indie Bear and Big Rock in a little bit of questionable place here as they're caught with their pants down. The chase will continue, but Goofy with too much movement speed, the Yule and the Phase Boots allowing him to escape, and Void will pop that Mask of Madness, but will only end up using that to farm as he's not going to be able to chase down.
I was praising Goofy earlier, but he had an opportunity to Yule's that Void while he was on the Chrono, but he didn't do it. And I think both Roster and Sand King were dead, but maybe he could have bought some time for the Roster. But, he chose not to. Maybe it was just to preserve his own life, and maybe it was the right call. But yeah, just good job by the Void there to recognize that those two supports were out of position, and he leapt in, got a big Chrono, and that's 2 kills in their favor. And this game is 14-16, and it, to be honest, for a while it felt a little bit more lopsided than that.
And even the gold graph and experience graph will tell you that. And if you look to the EXP graph, it pretty much tells the story of this game right now. The turnarounds are happening for the Radiant as they did turn a 5,000 gold experience disadvantage into a even game. And again, with a Void and a Sniper, I definitely favor those two heroes going into the later portions of this game over a Razor and a Death Prophet. Sure, they're still great carries and they have potential, but the Void and Sniper just offer so much more. And not even to mention the potential that a Nature's Prophet eventually brings when he gets that crit, as well as the MJ, if he chooses to go that direction, or the Desolator, and even the Sheep as its utility.
Heart finished on Death Prophet.
And that is a really big item. Before Bloodstone, which is definitely, we saw 747 in the last game choose to pick up that Bloodstone before, but
Goofy's not a fan of the Bloodstone. I used to be a fan of it, but yeah, I'm not really a fan of it anymore either. I just think there's better options.
Fair enough. Well, that being said, Aegis on the side of Dire. If there was a chance for them to put this nail in the coffin and actually pull this game out, when honestly the game is most favored for them. As this game goes later, like we said, it's going to get harder and harder, so they need to do something now while the chances are still better. And with this smoke, they might be able to catch out Moo. D2 Sheriff also in the area. In fact, all of the Radiant's team is in the area, except for the Faceless Void, which is a pretty big deal, as Michael will get hookshotted onto with that. Battery Assault goes down immediately, followed up by Big Rock with that Burrow Strike. Gives the Skywrath in the background. He will take quite a bit of damage. Rocket Flare will chip him down a little bit more, and with that Crypt Swarm as well as the pushing abilities they have, they should be able to clear through this creep wave and push down this lane relatively quickly. The Faceless Void did make his way up the top to kind of trade for this tower, but they're going to have to defend because I'm sure that the Dire team is on the same page here. They want to go high ground here. They have the means to, and they really want to. They still have mech up on Razor as well to heal him up.
What's important to note there is they had the opportunity to kill Sniper, they jumped in, they killed Sniper, and then they didn't overextend. They didn't have Roster wards up, and they didn't need to overextend. Just with getting that kill on Sniper, it secured them that tier 2 tower. They were smart, they played objectives, they didn't push. They didn't push the fight too much to try to get more kills. And now they're able to have their ults up so they can chip away at this base tower, which I think they're actually going to get here. Whether it will be denied or not, it will not.
And now they're actually going to try to reinitiate this maybe onto the Razor. Though honestly it doesn't look like they're going to get anything done here. Nothing to chase. As Faceless Void is still pushing top, but he does get caught out by all these TPs staying a little too long, and that's a free pick. And I think this is where the Dire team needs to immediately go and pressure something, because they just got that pick on the Void and they got that free T3, but every minute they spend not pushing or not getting a bigger advantage is just going to turn into honestly a harder and harder game to win. And the harder and harder it gets to win, I mean, it speaks for itself. You want an easy game to win, and not to say that, like, you know, you're trying to look for a walkover, but when you're playing the game as a competitive team, you're thinking, well, this is when our strat's the best, this is when we have the best opportunity, and you want to close out the game right then and there. So I really want to see Goofy as well as, you know, the rest of the Dire team get together here and start to put that nail in the coffin, because in the next 10 to 15 minutes it's going to get a lot harder.
I agree with you that they really need to push and get a Rax here, and they need to really start milking those cooldowns and just every time it's up, go, 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 go. They need Exorcism, they need wards, and just keep using them, keep putting pressure. But they did use the mid, and they got that tier 3 tower, but that was the right time to back. They could have stayed and they could have chipped away at a Rax, and maybe they could have got a Rax, but it would have been risky. Because that Void could have came back at any moment, the Exorcism would have been coming down, they wouldn't have had the Roster wards anymore. And then what? And then you're going to get into a fight where Void leaps in Chronos and you don't have Exorcism, you don't have Roster wards. You know, or, you know, you play more cautiously and still try to chip away at the Rax, and then, you know, Void gets top tower, then TPs, and you still probably don't get a Rax and you lose a fight. So yeah. I think they were right to back at that moment. But
Void did get burrow strike right there while you were talking. He does get away from it, doesn't need to use time lock, but looks like the Dire side is just trying to push in and pressure in all these lanes, so when they do choose to go high ground, they will be able to do quite a bit of damage. And I guess when you have multiple lanes pressured, it just adds that psychological factor. I mean, as a captain, I definitely understand this. Like, you have to dispatch your resources to deal with 3 lanes at once. And if you can focus in on one lane, it makes it a lot easier for a team to execute. So I really like the Dire team taking their time and pushing this lane out too. And Prophet does go to push out top. Shrapnel comes out from the Sniper as Goofy does get initiated on, and the Chronosphere hits too, both on Big Rock and Goofy. They get focused down, and Goofy is down as well as Big Rock, and these are where the team fight ults are really coming out. The Witch Doctor is going to get the entire channel on his Death Ward, and that's 3 heroes down, and this is exactly what we were talking about as this game goes on. The team fight potential and the carry potential coming out of the Radiant team is just incredibly strong, and Mini Bash cancels the TP onto the Razor. The Aegis goes down, and there's no way that he gets away from this. He's going to die here. And he does.
Yeah, that was a huge swing for the Radiant side. We talked about Dire preparing the lanes to push, and they did that, and they were preparing to push mid, and they were all going mid, and Sulfu on the Razor with the Aegis was farming the old easy camp, and just for another creep rather than being there and being a big body up front with the Aegis, forcing the Void to play around him. But the Void was just able to jump out, get the Chrono with Goofy right on the edge, and they were able to kill Goofy immediately, even though Goofy's got the big heart and the Yules. You can't use the Yules when you're in the Chrono. So once Goofy was down there, then what? You know, you're just falling apart then in that point of the
Dire's
fight.
top tower
The Death
is
Prophet's a
being
really
attacked.
pivotal hero in this strategy.
And the Radiant team will respond to this. They do throw the Faceless Void up into the air. Chronosphere is coming off of cooldown in 3 seconds. If he could get that BKB and get off that Chronosphere, would be hit huge. The Clockwork gets a great hook into both Water and Moo, and they both are. Moo does get out, and they get the Faceless Void. He does not get his BKB off, and Michael gets canceled
Wow.
by that battery assault through the fog. Great play by Clock, knowing exactly where to run, and they need to immediately chain this off into racks because the game is just going to get harder and harder. We're getting to that point where it does become if you don't throw your bodies and take racks and get racks and win the fights, then you will lose this game. Because we saw right there when they went for that other high ground push, as you brilliantly broke down that fight, if they don't get racks and get ahead right now, it's just going to become harder and harder because those initiations are just going to get cleaner and smoother because there's more items for the Radiant side to work with to get those initiations.
And here's the hard part. They've got 30 seconds, well 20, 25 seconds. Actually, there's a buyback from Sniper. They've got a little bit of time to work with respawns. They can go and push, but, you know, if they get wiped here, the Dire side gets wiped here, or obviously if the Radiant side gets wiped, then they're losing a ton of racks. But if the Dire side gets wiped on a push here, Roche is going to be up soon too. So, you know, you could lose a team fight, which is setting you back in time, but you're also losing Roche, which means your next team fight's not going to go well either. So, you know, this next push is going to be very
Interesting.
interesting. But I was looking for a different word, but interesting works, so we'll go with that.
Well, fair enough. And I also wanted to point out right now that Water just picked up his BKB. So besides
That's
Clockwork Hook, there is nothing to cancel that ultimate. And if he uses it after Clockwork Hook, then that's going to be a full channel. And the DPS from that is absolutely insane.
And unfortunately, well, battery assault will
Not through BKB though.
doesn't it?
No, it does not go through BKB.
Hold on, I'm just bad.
Only the only kind of stuns that go through BKB are, I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, I mean, in my head it makes sense. The
they're, like,
stuns,
physical,
yeah,
stuns.
even like Primal Roar is the only magical stun that really goes through BKB, as well as Greater Bash from Spirit Breaker.
See, I thought battery assault was a magical damage, but a physical stun on the mini stun. But I don't know. Whatever. Either way, you don't want Clockwork. You typically don't want Clockwork in this game to be jumping on the Witch Doctor. You know, at this point in the game, he needs to be jumping on the Sniper, because, you know, there's going to be a certain amount of engagement going in. The Chrono's going to come in, and then the Clock has to be hook-shotting in and getting on that Sniper who's standing at the back of the Chrono, wailing on everyone inside of it. So he needs to jump on that Clock, or he needs to jump in as Clockwork on the Sniper and deal damage to the Sniper, making sure that he can't have free reign on his team. And that's why he's picked up the Blade Mail. You know, because so that he can go in there, and that's why he doesn't pick up something like a Force Staff or something like that, which you're typically going to pick up when you're looking to jump in, throw down your cogs, and get the hell out, kind of zoning out people in the fight. He wants to be on top of Sniper.
But with these 3 BKBs, it will definitely help the Radiant team ignore that Blade Mail, because obviously Blade Mail is physical, or magical, sorry. And there will be a smoke up by the Dire team. They are in range. They're actually all grouped up here. The Chronosphere only hits 2, and the Big Rock does get a decent initiation, but the triple BKB as well, as the Death Ward is doing a ton of damage. One is already down. That is the Clockwork. The roster will follow up immediately as the Skywrath and the Witch Doctor go down, but the cores are still alive as Goofy is caught out next to Faceless Void. Faceless Void does leap in and takes quite a bit of damage from Goofy's ultimate, but with the Assassinate as well as the right clicks, it will be enough to finish him off. And that's
How did that happen?
it was right here. The Dire side was set up, and then the Radiant was in here, but actually Crane is going to go in for the hook onto the Faceless Void, but it's not going to be able to get it, and now he might actually die to this, as Michael is going to be able to get the right clicks.
Too.
And that's huge, because that's going to be a long time before he's able to respawn. 79 seconds. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sniper just pressure this out here and go damage some racks, because if he has one person to back him up, what is Sand King going to do?
Yeah, the Dire side, they were sitting on the high ground there. They had a gem, and they smoked up. Maybe the smoke stretched to the other side of these trees.
Yes, they got popped. No. They got popped right here. And the Radiant team was just casually running over here to figure out what's going on.
That's my point.
They had the treants leading.
Sorry?
They had the treants leading, so they wanted to go for the fight. They wanted to fight. But they didn't know the Dire side was here, so it became this awkward engagement where the Chronosphere went right here, And then Big Rock blinked in here, but all 3 of the heroes that were standing right here got their BKBs off. And so the epicenter did nothing. Skywrath Mage got his ult off before he died. And again, you know, what we said about Clockwork, or what we said about, sorry, hold that thought. Faceless Void is one of those heroes. Will get Indie Bear. But what we said about Faceless Void and Sniper just held true there. The chaos was enough that they stayed alive and they just wrecked. And the Death Ward did a lot of damage.
He was in the chrono. He
Yeah.
died immediately. But yeah, I was kind of surprised to see all 5 Radiant heroes there and going to that ramp. That's what kind of caught me out. I was like, how did they know?
Big Rock might get caught out here as he does get cast, as well as the right clicks. He does try to use that Sandstorm, but that gem did fall, and they were aware of that. So a little bit of a misplay coming out of Big Rock there, as he was caught out rotating towards that T2. And this is the last time you want to be caught out or getting picked right now, is because you have a timing. That timing's a little bit past, and the only chance of you winning is a good turnaround in a team fight and taking advantage of the push potential that your team has.
It's not just that, though. This Radiant team is going to pick up this tier 2, and I expected them to go Roche, but they're going to push the tier 3 instead. Goofy split pushing, going for Rax mid, which I think is the right call.
I definitely agree, but they're going to get this Rax, and honestly, the Radiant team would... I think they'd be happy to trade Rax for Rax, to be honest, just because of what it does. But the engagement's going to happen as the BKBs are out by Water, and as well as the Razor taking a lot of damage is the Rasta who falls. Goofy does have his ult, as well as that Shiva's coming out. Water low does take the Burrow Strike to the face, as well as the epicenter, and now Faceless Void with that great Chronosphere is going to finish off the Razor. Now running away is that Faceless Void. Michael going to get pursued out here by Goofy as he does attempt the TP. Yules is off CD, so he will get that off onto Crane, and now Michael using that Manta to hide himself in the trees, and a great play. But now Faceless Void turns back around and does get the gem back potentially. No, he doesn't get the gem, as he does get picked off by Crane and Goofy together, and that gem will save. I don't think they see it yet, but the Sheriff is going to come back in, maybe be able to get this kill. Crane does see the gem, steals it back, as that's exactly what Skywrath Mage was coming for, and Hook barely misses as he was right there, and the Hook went right on that line, so very close. Very close.
Wow,
and honestly, what a game. Yeah, this
fights.
game is definitely becoming a bloodbath, but that's what the Radiant wants. As long as it's not happening next to their base. Actually, that being said, Goofy might be able to get an important pick here on Moo. The Sheep does go out on Goofy, and it looks like Moo's just going to immediately use that to TP away, and smart decision. But I kind of feel like this is what Radiant wants, because if these fights aren't happening next to their base and they're not losing their barracks, or even if they are losing their barracks, they're attempting a trade for it against a pushing lineup. That's exactly what you want. Goofy will get the concussive shot hit on him, but it doesn't look like they're going to want to pursue that out.
Which is exactly why that Furion sheeped and TP'd out there rather than staying and trying to get a kill. Because what's the point? What's the risk? You know, if Furion all of a sudden, you know, something goes wrong, Furion dies there, and he doesn't get the kill on Deathball, and Furion's down, then you know that's a chance that he can lose his Rax mid. But
Dire will go for Roche, and this is the third Roche with cheese, so definitely worth noting. Makes the Roche taking a little bit more potent, a little more oomph out of it, with you get that cheese to help heal up a secondary target, and they will go ahead and commit the wards as well, which, just to speed this up, I don't blame them. They are on a timer right now because this game is getting harder and harder to win. Radiant will smoke up, aware of this, but I think they're just smoking up a little too late to be worried about this. I think they should just stay in their base and accept the fact that Roche is going to go down.
yeah, Dire Side's actually really lucky to be getting this Roche, because I really don't think this Roche should be on the map right now. I think the Radiant team should have taken
Got
the
it
Roche
already.
instead of the tier 3. But you know, they chose to take the tier 3, and it ended up in a bunch of kills going down. But yeah, now the Dire, you know, they've got a push, and they've got an Aegis and a cheese on the back of it. So
Yeah, and they're going to just have to barrel down middle, and it is worth noting that both of these lanes have momentum going this direction. So it's going to be really hard for the Radiant, or never mind, Dire Side will accept the fact that this... Oh no, it's actually great illusion play by this Faceless Void. What am I saying? Pulling him back and just stalling the time it's going to take. And again, this is just like frustrating for the Dire Side. Because you know what they're saying right now on Skype is, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta get this, guys, we have the better push, they have a Faceless Void and a Sniper, this game's gonna get harder and harder, and just great execution there.
I have a feeling this isn't the first time this Radiant team has played with Furion on their team. They seem pretty adept at split pushing and pausing pushes. So That's the second time we've seen Void cut a creep wave and really stall the push.
But here we go. They are going to siege up here, as this will be probably the fight to decide the game. If they can get racks and continue out alive, great for the Dire. If they die and don't get racks, that might be the end of this game. We see Michael running up, dealing quite a bit of damage. The Chronosphere, or Leapin in the background, is quite far away from the rest of his team, but he does get it onto Goofy before he pops that ultimate. He does still have the cheese, though, so maybe this is a little bit waste of the Chronosphere, and maybe some mistakes coming out of the Radiant team might cost them this fight, as the hook comes out onto water, canceling that ultimate. Great play by Crane, as the Razor does come back alive from the Aegis. In the background, we do see 2 go down, as the Faceless Void is doing so much damage, still alive, and even though they survived, and the Aegis kept them back alive, it looks like Razor is going to get picked off in the background, and a great fight coming out of the Radiant side again.
Yeah, and it wasn't a good start for the Radiant side there. You had Void leapt in over here and popped his BKB and didn't have chrono targets. Someone was hiding in the trees. I forget who it was there. And Crane backed up his clockwork over there, and he had no one to chrono. He was able to actually walk mid and get the chrono on Goofy on the Death Prophet, but yeah, then his BKB wore off and he was only able to attack for half of his chrono before he got disabled by the Luster.
Goofy and the Razor will be back here as they attempt to defend this tower. They have the AC up on the Faceless Void, so now he's going to start really chunking heroes and towers, and it's also worth mentioning that obviously Death Prophet's ultimate is physical damage, and with that AC up on Faceless Void, he has a total of 36 armor, negating almost 70% of 55 damage, which is not that much. So Goofy's Spirit's going to be hitting for like 20 damage a pop against this Faceless Void, and that's just not going to do that much.
That was very good of the Radiant team there. They were pushing mid, but they clearly were pushing mid to force out the buybacks. Once the buybacks came out, they all backed immediately. There wasn't a straggler. They all knew that that's what they were going to do. So it's a good job for the Radiant team there. Just kind of all being on the same page there. Forcing out those 2 buybacks, and now, you've got Death Prophet and Razor for the buyback. So this next fight is going to be real big. I feel like we've been saying that for the last 20 minutes of the game, but it's almost been true. Every team fight that happens just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It's just, but we've been right about it every time. It's just like it's a seesaw right now.
Yeah.
When we say it's a big fight, one team wins, but then they go, they take advantage of that fight and they run out. This gives us a second to talk about this. But then the next fight happens, and it seesaws back in favor of Dire, and then Dire goes and presses their advantage, but then Radiant baits defense. And so they press their advantage back, and it's been kind of this seesaw back and forth. But again, I think that overall this bodes well for the Radiant, as they are going to be able to push, not push, but be able to defend their base and continue on in this game. And honestly, continuing on in this game at this point is all they need to do, because they're only going to get bigger and they're only going to get more intimidating.
Yeah, and I've been really almost trying. I've been trying to be unbiased, at the start of the game. Maybe not. It wasn't as unbiased as I'd like to be, but sorry. But yeah. What was I saying? Sorry.
You were saying that you were trying to be unbiased about this game, and definitely is like Goofy and them were doing really well.
Well, yeah, I'm obviously cheering for my old teammates here, but I don't know how they're really going to pull this win out. Like, they need to win the next team fight, and we've talked about the seesaw battle, and they definitely have the possibility of winning a team fight, but it's getting real close to that point where it's not going to become possible for them to win a team fight, and they need the Radiant to make quite a big mistake and be able to punish them for it, and then kind of roll off the back of it. But,
I completely agree with that, but I think part of that relies on the Radiant making a mistake. And I hate always saying that, because, well, one, it kind of makes it sound like the Dire team isn't in control of their own destiny, but honestly at this point that's kind of how it is. When you get to a point in the game in which your strategy is past its expiration point, then the rest of the game is going to rely on you expecting your team or the enemy team to make a mistake for you to be able to come back into the game. And if that's the basis of your strategy, it's going to be really hard. And yeah, this smoke is the smart play. Mistakes can definitely be exploited here as they are spread out. The Faceless Void is a little bit farther outside of the base, but honestly, great maybe Star Sense coming out of the Radiant team is they all group it back together before they move out, so they're as a group.
This Trant is scouting out, and it's going to think that they're safe.
And honestly, Water might be a little cut out here as they do throughout the burrow strike. It misses on Sheriff, and now they can turn around this as they do get the cask and the Chronosphere onto 3 heroes. 2 immediately drop both of the supports, and now Goofy taking a ton of damage as the Ice Scotty is picked up on the Sniper, and that will be GG as Water wins this game and goes on to advance. But honestly, that was a very exciting game and a great game.
Yeah, I think both teams can actually can learn quite a bit from that game. Realize that there's some things that they need to refine in their play. You pointed out that maybe the Dire team wasn't in control of their own destiny there towards the end. I think they were, but it was earlier in the game. They needed to be a little bit more refined in their play earlier. They made a couple bad mistakes, and it really hurt them when they wanted to really push, and it just set them back. And as the end of the game happened, you got to play well. You got to try to force mistakes. And you got to try to make plays, maybe a little bit risky plays. That was looking like it could have had potential, but unfortunately they run into the Skywrath. That's the hero they run into out of all heroes, which is unfortunate. And then Skywrath does a good job to force staff himself away, so he doesn't even get hit by the Sand King stun. And then the big Chrono just ends the game essentially.
Yep.
But,
overall great play, and honestly,
it was a good game. It was fun to watch.
I don't have anything to add to that because that's pretty much everything I was going to say as far as the end of this game goes. That being said, guys, if you enjoyed this cast, if you enjoyed our commentary, be sure to check out Niz at Twitch TV/Nizcast, as well as Twitter at Nizcast. You can of course follow my channel at Twitch TV/DotaRaptors right below you guys, or if you're on YouTube, you can go check that out. The YouTube, you guys can check me out there at user/DotaRaptors, as well as at DotaRaptors for my Twitter.